In lesson 1, we want to talk about our properties of exponents. So for the first one, z to the 4th times z to the 5th times z squared, since they're all the same base, they all have the common base of z, we want to take our exponent and we want to add them together. So really we have z to the 4th plus 5 plus 2. So 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 2 is 11. So really when we multiply those all together and we add our exponents, we end up with z to the 11th. If we go across to the right, we have 8x squared times 3x to the 7th. So if we use the commutative property, since it's all multiplication, we really have 8 times 3, and we have x squared times x to the 7th. 8 times 3 we're simply going to turn into 24, and x squared times x to the 7th, we're going to follow the same rule from the previous one, and add our exponents, and we get x to the 9th. That gives us 24x to the 9th. If we go down to the bottom left-hand corner, it's the same thing that we just did above. The only difference is we have to account for two different letters here, which is, so we have 3 times 10, we have x squared times x to the 5th, and we have y times y to the 3rd. So if we go in order here, 3 times 10 is 30. X squared times x to the 5th, we add our exponents and we get x to the 7th. And we have to be careful, y times y to the 3rd. If there is no exponent, that really means there's a 1. So y to the 1st times y to the 3rd gives us y to the 4th. That gives us 30 x to the 7th, y to the 4th. For the last one, there's a couple of different ways we can look at this. If we want to look at it in a longer way, we can look at it as we have 2x to the 4th 3 times, which really means we have 2 times 2 times 2, and x to the 4th times x to the 4th times x to the 4th. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. X to the 4th times x to the 4th times x to the 4th means we add our 3 4s together to get 12. Then we would get 8x to the 12th. If we want to look at it following our rule, we could look at it as, well, your first term, you have 2 to the 3rd, and then we have x to the 4th to the 3rd. Well, 2 to the 3rd is 8. X to the 4th, when you have an exponent to an exponent, you multiply them together, so 4 times 3 is 12, and then that's how we get our 8x to the 12th. So either way that you're comfortable with, I would like for you to be able to get to know through the rules, but if you have to break it apart, that's fine as well. For the next one, Chris has incorrectly stated that x to the 4th times x to the 3rd is equivalent to x to the 12th. Explain what Chris did wrong and correct his work. So when multiplying our common bases, and when I say bases, I mean we have x times x. You add your exponents. So what Chris did is he did 4 times 3 for the exponents, when really it should have been 4 plus 3, which is x to the 7th. For the third one, you have two different ways to do it. You could explain it through a rule. So a power to a power, right, or an exponent to an exponent, means you multiply your exponents. So then x to the 5 times 3 gives you x to the 15th. The other way you could explain it is that you have x to the 5th 3 times, and then you can say, well, when multiplying common bases, kind of like we did above, you add your exponents. And then 5 plus 5 plus 5 gives you 15. So either way you prefer to do it is fine. Just make sure you understand how to do it one of those ways.